Welcome back to English literature class. I shall continue the story from your treasure trove textbook, A Horse and Two Goats. Hope you remember what was done in the earlier video. Just to recall, the story is set in a small village Cretan and we get a vivid description of the village. We are introduced to the protagonist, Muni, who in his prosperous days had owned a flock of 40 sheep and goats, but now his stock had come down to 2 goats as his fortunes had declined gradually. We are introduced to Muni's wife and also the shopman. As Muni craves to have drumstick curry, his wife sends him to fetch the necessary food items to prepare the curry from the shop. We know that Muni, sitting in front of the shop, laughs unusually to please the shopman. Now turn on to page 53 in your treasure trove textbook. I will continue the story now. By thus humoring the shopman, Muni could always ask for 1 or 2 items of food, promising repayment later. Some days the shopman was in a good mood and gave in, and sometimes he would lose his temper suddenly and bark at Muni for daring to ask for credit. Muni had laughed unusually. We all know that he laughed unusually to please the shopman, that his humor was appreciated. Shopman's humor was appreciated. That is why Muni laughs. By doing so, he could ask for food items on credit. What is credit? Buying the food items or any goods without paying the money immediately on the basis of trust that he will pay the money in your future. The shopman also gives the items sometimes. Here, the shopman, when he was in a good mood, he would agree. The shopman was in a good mood and gave in. Gave in meaning he would agree and give whatever Muni would ask. And sometimes he would lose his temper suddenly. Sometimes he would lose his temper and bark at meaning he would shout at Muni all of a sudden for asking the items on credit. So it always depended on his mood. So let us see what happens further. The shopman said, if you could find 5 rupees and a quarter, you will have paid off an ancient debt. How much have you now? So the shopman wants Muni to clear his earlier debt. Debt meaning the money which Muni owes to the shopman. So he asks, if you have the money, clear off the earlier debts. How much do you have now? How much money do you have now? So what is the reply which Muni gives? I will pay you everything on the first of the next month. So he says, okay, I will clear off all your earlier debt next month. On the first of next month, I will clear it. As always, and whom do you expect to rob by then? So the shop man gets wild. He says, as always, as usual. So this has become an habit. Probably this was happening very frequently. That's why he says, how do you get the money by first of next month? Whom are you expecting to rob? So Muni felt caught and mumbled. My daughter has sent word that she will be sending the money. So Muni feels he's caught now, feels embarrassed and mumbles very softly. He speaks up. What is that he says? My daughter, I have a daughter who said that, who has conveyed that she's going to send me the money. Have you a daughter? Sneered the shopman. And she is sending you money? For what purpose? May I know? So he was quite surprised. Do you have a daughter? Sneered the shopman. Sneered meaning in a mocking way. He just asks him, do you have a daughter? And why is she sending you the money? What's the reason for her to send the money? So he doesn't know what to answer. What is the answer he gives? Birthday, 50th birthday, said Muni quietly. Birthday? How old are you? So the shopman asks questions once again, Muni. What is that he asks? How old are you? So Muni repeated weakly, not being sure of it himself, 50. So Muni repeated weakly, very feebly. He says in a feeble voice, he says he is not sure of himself. He doesn't know his age. That tells that he was an illiterate. He always calculated his age from the time of the great famine, when he stood as high as the parapet around the village well. But who could calculate such things accurately nowadays with so many famines occurring? The shopman felt encouraged when other customers stood around to watch and comment. Now, he always calculated his age. Muni always calculated his age. Since he was not educated, this is how he would calculate his age. How would he calculate? By the great famine. Earlier, there was a great famine which had broken out earlier. So depending on that, he would calculate his age. What is famine? I think all of you know it. During famine, there is scarcity of food, and because of that, inadequate supply of food will result in death of people as well as animals. Millions of people and animals died during this famine. So during this famine, he says, I was so tall when he stood as high. High means as tall as the parapet around the village wall. Parapet is a protective wall along the well. So he was that tall when the great famine occurred. So based on that, I am 50, he says. But who would calculate such things accurately nowadays? Nowadays, earlier it was very rarely this famine would occur. So based on that, they could calculate their age. But now these famine are frequently occurring. How can you calculate the age? Based on that, the shopman felt encouraged when other customers stood around to watch and comment. So here the shopman felt motivated. He gained confidence when he was supported by the other customers, and they started mocking at Muni. Let us see what happens in the next paras. More likely you are 70, he said to Muni. You also forgot that you mentioned a birthday 5 weeks ago when you wanted castor oil for your holy bath. Now, most likely you are 70. Now, who says this? The shopkeeper says that you look more likely you are 70, he said to Muni. Now, the shopkeeper says, you look like you say you are 50, but you are very close to 70 years. And you also forgot that you mentioned a birthday 5 weeks ago. So 5 weeks ago, he had come to the shop to buy castor oil for his holy bath. So then once again you are celebrating your birthday. Are you celebrating your birthday once again? 5 weeks back you had celebrated your birthday. So you had bought castor oil for your holy bath. Holy bath is a religious bath, a holy dip in the river. So he makes fun of Muni once again. At this, Muni unobtrusively rose and moved off. Now Muni feels he is caught, feels ashamed. Without anybody's notice, he just leaves the place and moves off. He later told his wife, that scoundrel would not give me anything. So go out and sell the drumsticks for what they are worth. So now he is furious. He calls the shopman a rogue, a rascal, and he says to his wife to sell the drumsticks which he had plucked that morning. He tells, for whatever the value is worth it, you just sell those drumsticks. So moving on, he flung himself down in a corner to recoup from the fatigue of his visit to the shop. So he threw himself into the corner of a room, for a room in the sense in his house, to recoup from the fatigue, to recover from the fatigue. Fatigue, he was exhausted, he was tired. Probably he was tired mentally more than physically tired, you could say. So mentally he is exhausted. So he sits there after his visit to the shop. He just sits in a corner. His wife said, you are getting no sauce today, nor anything else. I can't find anything to give you to eat. Fast till the evening, it will do you good. Take the goats and be gone now. She cried and added, don't come back before the sun is down. Now, the wife is also furious. So she says, you are not getting any sauce, drumstick sauce or curry today. I can't find anything, nothing. I cannot do anything because I have, it's earlier in the story, we know that her stock is, she was running short of these food items. She doesn't have anything to prepare. So she says, it's good that you fast till evening. Fast means what? I think you know, restricting from food or drink. So it helps you to purify your mind and body, and it also helps you to acquire divine grace. So it's better you go fast till evening. That's going to help you. That's going to keep you healthy. So take the goats and be gone now, she shouts at him, and also tells that he shouldn't come back before evening. So he knew that if he obeyed her, she would somehow conjure up some food for him in the evening. Only he must be careful not to argue and irritate her. Her temper was undependable in the morning, but improved by evening time. She was sure to go out and work, grind corn in the big house, sweep or scrub somewhere, and earn enough to buy foodstuff and keep a dinner ready for him in the evening. So Muni, he knew that if he obeyed, if he followed her instructions, she would somehow conjure up, she would somehow manage to get the required items in such difficult situation. Also, somehow she would manage, you could say in a magical way, she could somehow bring the required items and prepare dinner by the time he would be back. But her temper was undependable. He couldn't trust her temper as it was it will be very, very high in the morning, but improved by evening time. But gradually her temper would be low. That is, she would be calmed down by the evening. She would calm herself because she was sure to go out and work. She would go out many times. She would go out and work. What would she work as? She would go there, grind corn in the big house or sweep or scrub, and that would fetch her money. With that, she would buy the required food items and prepare dinner by the time Muni would be back. This had probably happened many a times. That's why he trusts her and leaves. He doesn't want to irritate her. He just leaves. Next part, I'm reading out. Unleashing the goats from the drumstick tree, Muni started out, driving them ahead and uttering weird cries from time to time in order to urge them on. He passed through the village with his head bowed in thought. He did not want to look at anyone or be accosted. A couple of cronies lounging in the temple corridor hailed him, but he ignored their call. Now, releasing the goats from the drumstick trees, he just leaves the place. He starts out, driving them ahead and uttering weird cries, strange cries. He cries out, so that the goats move further. In order, from time to time, frequently he keeps crying. He keeps calling out to urge them on. Persistently, he has to encourage or motivate his goats to move on. So he does that. In the meanwhile, he passes through the village. And how is he moving? With his head bowed in thought. Why is he doing this? Because he knew that the news regarding him would be circulated in the village and everybody would by now would know. That's why he was ashamed and he doesn't want to lift his head. Intentionally, he acts as if he's engrossed in a thought. Because news would have circulated in the village, I told you. And a couple of cronies. He did not want to look at anyone or be accosted. Accosted meaning he doesn't want anyone to hold him back and speak. So he just ignores everyone and he just moves. A couple of cronies, his friends, lounging in the temple corridor who are lazily moving around there, hailed him. They called him, but he ignored their call. He doesn't want to talk to them. He just ignores them and moves on. And you can also see here a couple of cronies. The figure of speech used here is alliteration. Okay, I think you all understood till here. Moving on, the shopman had said that he was 70. At 70, one only waited to be summoned by God. When he was dead, what would his wife do? They had lived in each other's company since they were children. He had been told on their day of wedding that he was 10 years old and she was 8. Progeny none. Perhaps a large progeny would have brought him the blessing of gods. Now, while walking, he just recollects what the shopman had said. What did he say? The shopman said that he resembled a person who is 70 years. At 70, I think a person, at 70 children, how will a person be who has toiled throughout his life, always needs rest? He has to relax, enjoy his time at home with his family and grandchildren. That is the retirement age. Hope you must have seen your grandparents at home. But here Muni, at the age of 70, what is he doing? He is toiling so very hard. At 70, one only waited to be summoned by God. At 70, definitely a person will be waiting to be summoned, waiting by the call of God. Summoned meaning called by God. That means death is inevitable, death is certain. That is the time, any time death may happen. So when he is dead, what would happen to his wife? Now he feels concerned because how will she live without me? Because both had married long ago. They had child marriage. He was only 10 years old and she was only 8. So how will she be without me if I am dead and gone? He just thinks of her. And since they didn't have any children, progeny, none. Progeny, the offsprings, or they didn't have children. Perhaps a large progeny would have brought him the blessings of God. So he says, divine blessings are always assured to a big family. That means if there are a lot of children in a family, such family will be blessed. Such family will be bestowed with happiness. Since he is childless, he considers himself very unlucky or unfortunate. That is what he feels. He thinks while he walks. Only on the outskirts did he lift his head and look up. He urged and bullied the goats until they meandered along to the foot of the horse statue on the edge of the village. He sat on its pedestal for the rest of the day. Now, on the outskirts, he is moving out of the village, outside the village. Only there he lifted his head because he knew nobody would be there. Now confidently, he just walks looking up. He urged and bullied the goats. Once again, he is threatening the goats until they meandered. They were winding near the horse statue, which was at the edge of the village, outside the village. He sat there on the pedestal for the rest of the day. The advantage of this was that he could watch the highway and see the lorries and buses pass through to the hills, and it gave him a sense of belonging to a larger world. The only advantage, the only benefit he had here while the goats would graze, that he felt that he was connected to that larger world. The pedestal of the statue was broad enough for him to move around as the sun traveled up and westward, or he could also crouch under the belly of the horse for shade. The pedestal of the statue, since the horse statue probably was very huge, the pedestal also was broad enough so he could sit there, move around, and also sleep around as the sun had traveled up and westward. Probably it was already noon, I think. Noon, it was past noon. That's why he could also crouch under the belly of the horse. He could squat around the belly of a horse for shade. He could take rest. Now he feels. Now moving on. The horse was nearly life-size, molded out of clay, baked, burnt, and brightly colored, and reared its head proudly, prancing its 4 legs in the air and flourishing its tail in a loop. Now, I'll stop here and explain. Now we get the description of a horse. How is the horse? Horse was life size. Life size means very similar to a real horse, same as a real horse. How was it? It was molded out of clay. It was made out of clay, burnt, baked, and also brightly colored. The colors used were very, very vibrant, very color, very bright and very attractive. And reared its head proudly, raised its head very proudly. With pride it was looking up, prancing its forehead, prancing, moving with high springly steps, as if it was dancing, you could say, its forelegs in the air, and flourishing its tail in a loop. His tail was almost bending. Now beside the horse stood the warrior with scythe-like mustaches, bulging eyes, and aquiline nose. Now next to that you could see a warrior. Who is a warrior? I think you know it is. He is a brave soldier or a fighter. This is how a warrior is described. How was he? With scythe-like. Scythe is a tool used to cut crops. You can see that in the picture. So his mustaches resembled this tool. I think you got it, children. Scythe-like mustaches, bulging eyes. Bulging eyes means swelling eyes or protruded eyes, you can say, where eyeballs are very, very large. And aquiline nose. Aquiline, a very sharp and curved nose that warrior had. The horse itself was said to have been as white as a adobe washed sheet and had on its back a cover of pure brocade of red and black lace matching the multicolored sash around the waist of the warrior. So the horse, how was it? It was as white as a adobe washed sheet. So pure white, and on that there was a cover of pure brocade. Brocade means that's a rich fabric woven with a raised pattern, typically with gold or silver thread. So it was very rich to look at. The color was red and black lace. And to match that, there was a multicolored sash around the waist of the warrior. Sash means a waistband which he wore. But none in the village remembered the splendor, as no one noticed its existence. As no one noticed its existence, even Muni, who had spent all his waking hours at his foot, never bothered to look up. Now, none in the village remembered the splendor, how magnificent the statue was, but nobody noticed its existence. Everybody ignored. All the villagers probably had ignored this. Even Muni who spent all his waking hours at his foot. So most of this day he would be here. Even he had not even bothered to look up at this horse statue. It was untouched even by the young vandals of the village, who gashed tree trunks with knives and tried to topple off milestones and inscribed lewd designs on all walls. This statue had been closer to the population of the village at one time when this spot bordered the village. Now, it was even untouched by the vandals. Vandals means the persons who deliberately or intentionally destroy or damage property. It did not attract even these persons. They also didn't even look up to this statue, who would always gash the tree trunks with their knives and always try to topple off the milestones and inscribed lewd design, lewd, very dirty or vulgar pictures they would inscribe on the walls. They too did not bother to touch this statue. This statue had been closer to the population of the village at one time when this spot bordered the way. That means that this statue earlier was amidst many people at one time earlier, but probably because of the famine, there was a great famine, it was told in the story earlier. Probably because of that, the population has come down. That is why the statue is outside the village. It's on the outskirts of the village. So I'm going to stop here, children. Hope you have understood the story. We saw how Muni feels dejected and returns home after he was humiliated by the shopman and moves outskirts with his two coats. We get the description of the horse and the warrior too. Now I shall stop here and continue in my next video. Thank you.